Some animals don't run from disaster. They don't fight it. They don't adapt faster. They shut down. Follow that idea far enough, and it takes you from creatures too small to see to giants waiting in permanent darkness. There are microscopic animals called tardigrades that can do this. When conditions become unbearable, tardigrades shrivel into tiny, hardened forms, and almost everything inside them slows to a stop. They can survive freezing, radiation, even the vacuum of space. And when water returns, they simply continue. Not healed, not repaired, just resumed. And what's unsettling is this. This strategy didn't start on land. Let's start far offshore, in the deep Atlantic, off the coast of Brazil. We're going down thousands of meters, past sunlight, past warmth, into permanent dark. Down here, nothing grows. No plants, no photosynthesis, no reliable food supply. Sometimes nothing falls from above for months, sometimes years. This is where the giant isopods live. They look prehistoric, massive armored scavengers moving slowly across empty seafloor. Most of the time, they barely move at all. Energy is precious here. Motion costs calories. So they wait. But when something finally dies above, a fish, a seal, even a whale, and that body begins its slow descent, everything changes. Isopods appear from nowhere. They swarm the carcass. They tear into it. They eat until their bodies visibly swell, until their hard shells separate slightly to make room, until they can barely crawl. Then something strange happens. They stop. Their metabolism drops. Their movement slow to almost nothing. In laboratory conditions, giant isopods have turned one meal into years of survival. Not starving, waiting. What makes this even stranger is that they don't sleep through those years. They remain aware, slowly moving, occasionally shifting position, burning energy at an almost unimaginable minimum. Some have even refused food for months in aquariums because they're still living off a meal they ate long ago. Down here, hunger isn't a signal. It's a condition you learn to ignore. They don't chase food. They convert it. But turning meals into time is just the beginning. Because some animals don't store energy at all. They store life itself. Now let's leave the ocean and head inland to seasonal floodplains in Mozambique. Here, shallow ponds appear only during rainy seasons. For a few months, everything explodes with life. Fish hatch. They grow fast. They reproduce. Then the water disappears. The ponds dry into cracked earth. Every adult fish dies. But one species doesn't. Before dying, annual killifish lay eggs deep in the mud. Inside those eggs, something remarkable happens. Development stops. Not slows, stops. The embryos enter a suspended state called diapause. Weeks pass. Months pass. Sometimes years. No heartbeat. No growth. Just potential. The landscape looks dead. Then, rain returns, the ground floods, and suddenly fish appear where there was only dust. Entire populations survive drought as paused embryos underground. Some killifish embryos don't just pause once. They can enter diapause multiple times. If rain comes too early and disappears again, development stops, then starts, then stops again. It's like life buffering itself. Scientists have found embryos that waited through several false rainy seasons before finally hatching. The fish aren't racing to be born. They're waiting for the world to be ready. Generations pass their hardest years underground, motionless. They don't endure dry seasons. They skip them. Staying in Africa, we move north into the wetlands of Zambia, where rivers spread wide during rainy seasons and completely vanish during drought. Some animals don't survive dry periods as embryos. They survive them as adults. African lungfish live in floodplains that regularly disappear. When water levels drop, they don't migrate. They dig. They burrow into drying mud and secrete thick mucus around their bodies. That mucus hardens into a cocoon. Inside, everything slows. Breathing drops. Digestion stops. Metabolism collapses. They don't eat. They don't move. They wait. There are documented cases of lungfish surviving more than a year this way, some much longer. During this shutdown, lungfish switch from breathing oxygen to surviving on internal chemistry alone. Waste products build up in their tissues. Their muscles slowly weaken, but their cells stay intact. There are historical records of lungfish being shipped in dry mud, forgotten in storage, and later revived simply by adding water. Alive, after being boxed like artifacts. Then rain comes. The soil softens. Water returns. The cocoon dissolves, and the fish wakes up. When the world dries out, the lungfish doesn't escape. It becomes part of the landscape. But drought isn't the only force that teaches animals how to disappear. In other parts of the world, survival isn't about drying out. It's about freezing. Now travel north, into boreal forests across Canada. Here, winter removes something different. Not water, heat. Wood frogs don't flee freezing temperatures. They allow themselves to freeze. Their hearts stop. Their blood turns to ice. Their organs shut down. Up to 70% of the water in their bodies becomes solid. Before this happens, their cells flood with glucose, acting like biological antifreeze. It protects tissues from being shredded by ice crystals. For weeks, they lie frozen beneath leaves and snow. No breathing, no circulation, no movement. Their eyes freeze solid. Their brains shrink as ice forms between cells. Electrical activity disappears completely. From the outside, they look like small, frozen statues. Then spring arrives. They thaw, their hearts restart, and they hop away. They don't relearn how to move. They don't relearn how to see. They simply continue. They don't survive winter. They pause through it. But frogs aren't the only ones who've learned this trick. And remarkably, this ability to shut down doesn't stop with cold-blooded animals. Even mammals do it. And finally, we head even further north, into the tundra of Alaska. Here, winter dominates most of the year. Arctic ground squirrels enter hibernation so deep, their body temperature drops below freezing. Their heart slows to just a few beats per minute. Blood flow to the brain nearly stops. Neural activity becomes barely detectable. Their bodies enter a state dangerously close to death. But here's what makes them extraordinary. Every so often, they wake just enough to warn their brains, preventing permanent damage. Then they shut down again. For months, they cycle between near-death stillness and brief moments of repair. Their brains reach temperatures colder than any other mammal ever recorded. Human brain tissue would suffer permanent damage in minutes. The squirrels recover perfectly. They wake with memories intact, motor control intact. It's not just hibernation. It's controlled neurological shutdown, followed by precision reboot. They don't stay alive by staying active. They stay alive by carefully turning themselves off and on again. Across oceans, deserts, forests, and frozen tundra, life keeps giving the same answer. Not speed, not strength, not constant motion. Restraint. When food vanishes, bodies slow. When water disappears, development stops. When temperatures crash, organs shut down. Across all of these animals, one pattern keeps appearing. They don't survive by pushing harder. They survive by knowing exactly how far they can disappear without vanishing completely. Some animals don't adapt by changing. They adapt by stopping. We tend to think survival belongs to whatever moves fastest. But in the harshest places on Earth, it belongs to whatever can wait. Some of these creatures began their lives before electricity was common. Some will still be here long after we're gone. While humans measure success in progress, these organisms measure it in continuity. To them, life isn't momentum. It's survival stretched across time. And while we chase speed and growth, the living world unseen keeps choosing the same answer. Wait.